Hello, my name is Mohammed Sarwar. I'm the Chief Executive for Multicultural Arts and Media Centre. I am grateful to Rochdale Township to enable the organisation to record a series of interviews of Asian elders who have settled from various parts of the world to come into Rochdale, particularly the Milkstone and Deeplish area, and to share their cultural experiences, their education, and the contribution that they have made to the society. It's a fantastic video and I'm thankful to everyone involved. Hope you enjoy the video.
I am Professor Syed Muhammad Hayat, a retired university professor living in Central Rochdale for the last 40 years. I came to England in early 60s to further my education, to have a professional career and go back to Pakistan to serve my country. At that time, education was the most precious profession for Pakistan as well as underdeveloped countries. When I came here after graduation, I saw good opportunities to work in this country, to get some experience, and then use that experience for developing countries such as Pakistan. I came to Rochdale in 1970 as a science teacher, a permanent job at Greenhill School. And Greenhill School, in the past, he was one of the grammar school for girls, single-sex schools. But when I joined Greenhill School, it was changed to comprehensive with co-education. I enjoyed my life here very well. I got love and affection from all the people, indigenous people, and from our own community. At that time, there were very few families living from Pakistan living here. Mostly they come from AJK, and they were working class. And they came here for economical reasons. That was their goal, to get some, collect some money and then go back and build their own family life. But as the time goes on, the things were changed and they tried to settle down. The second period was about next 20 years, that is about 80 to 2000, that was settling period. I enjoyed my life here. I had connection with local parties, local organizations, religious people, political peoples. We used to have late Alderman Quinn and Jack McCann and many more who are not here with us. They have contributed a lot for this town, Rochdale. What we need now is important two-point agenda. One is that we should look our young generation, which is the third phase, and that is the development, family development phase. We have to look after our children, we have to look after their health, we have to look after their education, and of course, above all, we have to look after our elder generation, which require a lot of support from us. Councillors who are elected member of the community, and they have to play a very important role, along with organization such as Multi-Art organization, which is helping a lot and very active.
My name is Sanullah Niazi. Came to United Kingdom in September 1967, and like any other Pakistani, I had no different motive than to uplift the economic personal situation in Pakistan, as well as to support the national needs and forthcoming problems. At the same time, Because my father was already here, he is the one who initiated it, who encouraged me to come to United Kingdom. When I came in, his first advice was that, like, in case you are interested in just making money, then you can join in the factory and there will be a lot of money coming in and you can in a short space of time make a lot of money. The reality is that with the time only the aristocrats and the leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Mr. Gandhi, Liaquat Ali, people came in, and what they did have, I mean, they came here for education, and what they did is anybody's guess. You can see that. There's no need to elaborate on it. So according to him, it will be better for me to join the education, and that will be not only for the individual advancement, but it could be a collective one. I had a good career and also had a good training opportunities to make contribution towards the community, not only here, but also in Pakistan. As a profession, I joined electrical engineering field, which I did quite a lot. Have been the member of research, as a research engineer contributed, and also had the opportunity to go back to Pakistan. So having come back here, the situation, employment situation, took a turn, and I had to take up a new field. Instead of engineering, I have to choose teaching profession as my living standard. Rochdale is a multicultural town. It dawned on me to participate for the uplift of the community as a community activist. To do that, we had to organize community groups in various parts of the town and various parts of the country. Most of the community in Deeplish and Milkstone enjoy quite a festivity of businesses, and living standards have improved with the help of all those community-based action areas activities. The youngsters have to take up their role and take it seriously, and not to let it down because their seniors have not.
My name is Abdul Saeed. I qualified as a doctor in medicine from Nishtar Medical College, Multan, 1964. I came to this country in 66, and my first job was in Blackburn in anaesthetic. And I am a member of Royal College of Anaesthetic London, and I also have a qualification from Royal College of Dublin as Part 1 FFARCS. I've also got the diploma in cardiology, in primary care from Bradford University, and I have also a diploma or a certificate from Royal College of Obstetrician and Gynecology in family planning. As far as the general practice is concerned, I have experience for about 2 years or at least 1 year in Pakistan, and then I started general practice with Dr. Razak, who was my senior partner in Rochdale on 1st of January 1975. And in those days, my experience is there are very few cars in the streets or on the roads, and people used to travel on foot or in buses. As far as my advice to the community, I would suggest that unassisted exercise is very important, whether it is 3 minutes or 5 minutes, not more than that, just as soon as you get out of bed. The education is very important. Without education, you have no place in the society. And the third thing I would like to say, you must follow the rules and regulation and the law. And the fourth, I would say, please keep the community tidy. Many of us would like to throw things on the streets and on the floor and on the road. I feel that we should keep this in our hand, in our pocket, and train our children. And so when we go home, we take those rubbish and put in the dustbin. I know Ghulam Rasool Shahzad, who is a community worker, and he has a team. He keeps our area very clean. Originally, I come from Bahadurgarh, which is near Delhi, about 18 miles away from Delhi. And I moved in 1947 to Pakistan. I had my matriculation in Rawalpindi from Mission High School. Then I studied in Gordon College, but I qualified from my intermediate FSc from Government College, Dera Ghazi Khan.
My name is Shabir Mughal. I live in Rochdale. I have been living in Rochdale since 1972. Originally, I came from Africa, Kenya, East Africa. East Africa, that's where I was born. My parents, my mother was born in Kenya, my father was born in Kenya, and had settled in Kenya all their lives until the time that it was time to leave Kenya and come to UK. Our grandparents, my grandfather, originally who was a blacksmith in Pakistan, very early after this First World War, they had gone with the British colonies to colonize Africa and to build railways. And so my grandparents, this is how they traveled from Indian subcontinent to Africa, and this is where they lived as British subjects under the British protectorate. We were all educated and brought up mostly in Africa, and because my parents they were under British protectorate and they held British citizenship and British passports, they had no choice at one time but to leave Kenya for UK. As they came to UK in 1972, they were fortunate enough to be able to bring at least 10 children out of the 11 they had. One of my brothers who remained behind, he remained behind because he thought, we will, as we are in England, we will need some financial support. So one of the brothers, he kindly volunteered to keep on working hard and stay behind and support us financially if need be. The reason we arrived in Rochdale, we had relatives who had settled here before us, and these relatives, they were from Pakistan. They had settled here at least 10 to 12 years before us. And when my father made intention to come to UK, our relatives kindly offered to welcome us here in Rochdale, in this little beautiful town, and also to support us if we need any support. In Africa, our education system was all put in place by likewise a British system. So the standards of education were quite good. We had studied there and we were well acquainted with English. So we didn't have any language barriers. We did not experience any problems with language and communication. For that matter, we adapted very well to the indigenous community here. Life at that time was quite simple. There were lots of mills, a lot of factory jobs available, and people used to be hardworking at the time. Very few people you'd find being on unemployment, and those who were unemployed used to endeavor to work hard. That's how we felt that when we came here, everybody was energetic and everybody was looking forward to the new British life, and continued to strive for working hard.
My name is Parvez Anwar Chowdhury. I have lived in Rochdale for a very long time, 48 years last December. I came in this country as a child and I went to a school called Haybrook. Stayed there for 6 months and I went to college and did mechanical engineering apprenticeship. Worked very hard, learned the trade, then moved on. I went in my own experiences. There's a lot of racism when I came in this country. We faced a lot of racism in those days. And then we had to stand up for it. As I grew up, I had my business, I became a motor mechanic, opened my own garage, and played cricket for Rochdale. Then we formed our own Asian team in Rochdale. And then moved along with the community as we were brought up from Kenya in a multicultural community we lived in. We were Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, we all lived together. It was a wonderful experience from there, what I learned as a child. And to gain the experience here in England, that played a big part in my life to be where I am today. And all I can say is, I had to stand up for my rights. Then 1980 in England, we had a lot of problems with National Front. Then June 1980, with help of Chief Anton from Greater Manchester Police, he supported me and he gave me help. We demonstrated in Rochdale. With his help, we drove National Front out of this town. And from that day to this day, we had a lot of peace in Rochdale. And being part of the community is a very important thing. And I will tell everybody the way I grew up as a child and the community I'm in now should always remember this is my home. I was brought here when I came in this country. I already had the British rights given to us before my great-grandfather moved to Kenya from India. And having those rights, I've stood by my rights as a British, and I'm proud to be British. And I'd always tell our children, our kids, our people today, we have to move in. We have to mingle with the people of the areas we live in. We have to mingle with the culture we are in. And the community being together is very important, as being one community that makes us all better people.
My name is Salma Chowdhury. I am a born Kenyan. I came to this country in 1983. I just completed my A-levels and took a couple of months, like a gap time, before going to university. Arrived in a place called Tooting in London. Then I met my husband, who was then in Scotland. We'd gone for a visit, and I never went back to Kenya. I then settled in this country, got married, had 2 boys who have now both graduated and good degrees. The experience for me has been really positive. It wasn't really a culture shock, because I came from a British colony, Kenya, and it was a very diverse community. So I had grown up among a multicultural society anyway. So it was quite a lovely experience coming to Britain. I started teaching in Thameside College. After about 3 years there, I then moved to Rochdale and got an opportunity with St. Vincent's Housing. It's been a fantastic opportunity, about 20 years in that job, working within the community, specializing with the catering for the BME sheltered accommodation, that is their social and their housing needs. Coming to Britain has been, it's been life-changing for me. I have made lots of friends, and I think it's really important to integrate within the community. The needs of the BME community is quite varied, and it is really, really important to ensure these needs are met. As I have been doing this job for about 20 years now, from my experience, I think the women are underrepresented within the BME community anyway, and it's also about raising awareness. There still is a lot of lack of awareness, and from what I do is whether it's to help support with benefits, maximizing income, or whether it's just about their personal care, there is still a lot of ignorance among certain sectors, and it is very, very important to have these needs met, because it is a fact that Asian people and generally people are living longer. And as they are living longer, there will be more and more diverse needs that need to be met. And this can only be done as a community coming together and everybody supporting each other.
My name's Ahmed Nawaz Chauhan. I came to this country in 1971 to join my father, who came here in the 60s. We've always lived in Rochdale, and my father worked in the textile industry, and he arrived from Pakistan approximately 1963-64. The rest of the family joined him in 1971 and did all the junior school, middle school, high school education, college, university in this country. My father used to work on nights. He used to sleep during the day, so we would see him approximately 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Otherwise, we would see him Saturday afternoon and Sundays. He worked all his life, and the money he earned was also to keep his family here, family of 5, including my mom. So there was 4 grown-up children and 1 and wife. He also had further responsibilities as being the eldest son of his family to provide for his brothers and sisters and his parents back in Pakistan. My father was an ex-army man, and he insisted on his children to go into education. So I, the second eldest, went into, after finishing school in Rochdale, I went to Oldham College, and from there I did a degree in electronic engineering in London, and worked in London for approximately 5 years, and then returned back to Rochdale. What I've noticed is that when we first come here, we wouldn't go out in the evenings. It wasn't considered safe more than anything else. Also, we weren't really involved socially in local activities such as community groups, such as associations, or taking part in campaigns. This, of course, changed as we gained education, and after going into college, I became more politically aware. I used to attend peaceful demonstrations in Rochdale and in London. We also noticed there was a change in the area of Rochdale in the late 70s, early 80s. There was a lot more commercialized shops in our area. By our area, I mean Tweedle Street, Milkstone Road. Prior to this, no Asian family would actually eat out because they never had the disposable income. Looking at Rochdale as a society, unfortunately, something that failed in my generation, prior to that in my father's generation, and certainly it's failing again in the 3rd generation. We're very surprised because our kids consider themselves as British Pakistani Muslims. So they feel they're more British than Pakistanis, and yet integration is very poor. An example of this for you is that typically children that go to school in this local area from 1 till 11 are in predominantly in schools where there's a high majority of Asian people and less of other races. And then when they are 11, they go to high schools, and sometimes it's the first time they're experiencing colleagues and peers which are of a different race, and equally it's a similar experiences for those people. And from what I heard and learnt is that after initially spending a year in being ignorant of each other, once they've got to know each other and helped each other out, they're forming lifelong friendships. And I believe this should start a lot earlier.